Shalom. Welcome to the Jewish Task Force. This is Chaim Ben Pesach. Hillary Saddam Clinton, the front-running Democrat presidential candidate in next year's election, now claims that she's for energy independence and comes up with certain proposals which she claims will make us more independent from foreign oil. And this is an extremely important issue. She's a pathological liar, by the way. She will only make the problem much worse, and we'll explain why. But this is an extremely important issue. America and the Western world are feeding Islamic terrorism. The Muslim terrorist nations receive hundreds of billions of dollars every year in oil revenue. Our dependence upon oil has created a situation where there are trillion-dollar Muslim terrorist nations now that are developing weapons of mass destruction, that are creating a situation where the Muslim world is breeding and populating at a much faster pace than all other non-Muslim countries. The Muslims are already 1/6 of the world's population. They eventually will become a majority of the world's population with this population explosion that exists in the Muslim world and that is sustained by the trillions of dollars they have received in oil revenue, hundreds of billions of dollars every year, and the cumulative effect is trillions of dollars in oil revenue they've received because of our insane suicidal dependence upon oil. So this is a grave danger to the very survival of the United States, of Israel, of Europe, and of all non-Muslim countries. A grave danger because Islam commands its followers to conquer the world for Allah, to exterminate or forcibly convert all non-Muslims. That is what is commanded in the Quran and in the Hadith. And so we must develop alternatives to oil. The only way to defeat Islamic terrorism, the only way to solve this problem, and to prevent an Islamic nuclear holocaust eventually, because they're going to get these weapons of mass destruction, and eventually, they've promised to use them, eventually they're going to be able to with this type of money. If they have this massive amount of revenue coming in, this massive amount of money coming in, eventually they're going to be able, in Iran and in other Muslim countries, they're going to develop the nuclear weapons, and we're going to be faced with a nuclear terrorist holocaust, God forbid. And so we urgently must stop and defeat Islamic terrorism. This is the number one challenge in our lifetime. And this can only be done if we create alternatives to oil and render oil irrelevant. If oil were irrelevant, the Muslim terrorist nations would not be able to do anything against us. It's only because they have all of this money from oil that they pose such a threat. They would still hate us, but they would be a paper tiger. They would be powerless against us without the oil revenue. Now, Hillary Clinton and all the candidates for president, Democrat, Republican, now claim that they want to do things to make America energy independent. None of them have come up with the proposals that are needed for a real crash program. All of their proposals fall short of what is needed because we need a real crash program to become energy independent. But I don't want to get into that now. I just want to say that the Republican candidates for president, as much as they are not adequately addressing the problem either, and as much as I hate the Republicans as well, at least there is some hope because they recognize the national security threat. At least there is some hope here. At least there is some hope here that they will actually initiate certain programs to at least move us in a different direction. Rudy Giuliani, Mitt Romney, John McCain have spoken about various programs, and there is some, and I do believe they will make some attempt in that area. Not enough, but something. Now, as opposed to all of those candidates, the Republican candidates, Hillary Clinton will do nothing on this issue and will make the problem much worse, will make us much more addicted, and this is national suicide for the United States. How do I know? Because we already saw this, because the Clintons, this is not as though they're running for the first time. We already saw what they did when they were in the White House for 8 years. Bill Clinton, when he ran for president in 1992, promised to deal with the energy crisis and promised to initiate a program to make us more energy independent. He promised to do that in 1992 when he first ran for president. And instead, when he was president, when he first became president, we were getting under 40% of our oil from foreign sources. Under 40% of our oil was coming from foreign sources. When he left the White House, it was more than 55% of our oil. He drastically increased our dependence, our slavish dependence and addiction to foreign oil. He did nothing to solve the energy problem in this country, made everything worse, created bigger bureaucracies, made everything worse, made it more difficult for private industry and private enterprise to develop alternatives to oil. Now, why did he do this? Because the Clintons are controlled by the multinational corporations in this country. They are corrupt, evil, traitor politicians who have no concern for the future of the country. They only want to maintain power, the Clintons. They are the utter examples of political prostitutes and opportunists. And they are controlled by multinational corporate interests that want us to be dependent on oil, that don't care about America's future, that just want profits and power and see our dependence on, they know our dependence on foreign oil and our dependence on oil in general is bad for America economically, politically, security-wise. They know that, the multinational corporate traders that are really the people running this country. They know it's bad, but they don't care about the American people or about America. They only care about themselves. And so these billionaire multinational corporations want us to be more dependent on foreign oil. And the Clintons are controlled lock, stock, and barrel by these people. These people have given hundreds of millions of dollars to the Clintons and to their political allies over the years. Now you may say, well, these same political interests have given to the Republicans and control the Republicans as well, and that's true. But it's not to the same degree. They have not embedded with the multinational corporations in such a corrupt way to the same degree, the Republicans, as the Clintons were, because the Clintons are completely corrupt. I'll give you some examples. Hillary Clinton, in the Whitewater scandal, had involvement with all types of corporate interests in Arkansas, where she stole land and engaged in real estate transactions that were completely corrupt. She was on the board of Walmart. While she was saying that she's against the corporations exploiting workers and exploiting people, meanwhile she was sitting on the board of Walmart doing all the things that she and Bill Clinton have spent a lifetime claiming that they're against, criticizing. Did you know that she spent years on the board of Walmart? Hillary Clinton made huge profits in cattle's futures when she was the wife of then-Governor Bill Clinton in Arkansas. She made a deal. She cut deals, corrupt deals, with the head of the Arkansas chicken slaughtering industry. Arkansas has a chicken slaughtering industry, and the most despicable polluter of Arkansas's rivers and streams and everything else, and someone who was selling substandard chickens to people and doing everything he could to get around the law, she made a deal with him and he invested her money in cattle's futures. And she turned the money she invested with him in cattle's futures, and by the way, in exchange, Bill Clinton, as governor, went easy on him when he was violating the law in selling substandard chickens from his chicken factories. And meanwhile, endangering public health, by the way, by doing so. And meanwhile, she gave him $1,000 and it turned into $25,000 in cattle's futures, and she invested over and over again in cattle's futures, numerous times, numerous transactions. She knew exactly when to sell short. She knew exactly what to do. She never got what's called margin calls. I know this is a little complicated, but the bottom line is she made a fortune. Not knowing anything about Wall Street, and certainly cattle's futures and futures in general is very complicated. Even experts get stuck on that. But it was rigged. The whole thing was illegally rigged, and she made a fortune on it. Overnight. And in exchange, she and her husband went easy on the most abusive owner of Arkansas's big chicken slaughtering industry. These are people, the Clintons, who are controlled lock, stock, and barrel by corrupt interests. They will never make us energy independent. They will never take on the oil industry. They are controlled by big oil and by the oil industry. The Republicans are also. We see that with George Bush and Dick Cheney. There's no question they are also. But I do believe that in the Republican Party there is there is pressure on them to take action, real pressure to take action in this area, because Republican voters and rank-and-file Republicans are very worried about America's dependence on oil because they know that this endangers America's survival. You won't have that same type of pressure on the Clintons. The Clintons will ignore those things as they did when they were in the White House. We'll become more dependent on Arab oil just as we did when they were in the White House before, and we will endanger America's survival and the survival of Western civilization. Hillary Clinton must be stopped in her race for the presidency. Go to our website, go to our forum, this is the address for our forum, and join us to stop Hillary Clinton and to save America. Shalom.